Hawkeye episode 5, we're almost through the whole season, and here we are. A lot of trailer footage is still not featured in the show. That means we've actually seen much of the finale episode in the trailer, especially for a Disney Plus show. I mean, look back at the trailer for season 2 of The Mandalorian that showed us only tidbits of the first half of the season. Look at that, Hawkeye. Granted, this show is very light on action, and I guess they needed as much action stuff to show us in the trailers as they could. That's just something that popped up, just something I wanted to open with. Which brings me to my issue with last week's episode, chapter 4. But actually, and I'll explain why I feel that way in just a sec, but actually episode 4's weakness is this week's strength. All subjective opinion, of course. Hi fellow Disney Plus watchers, this is Thoughts After Disney Plus Watch, and I'm glad you're watching the channel that's all about Disney Plus movies and TV shows. So just fair warning here before we move on, I do need to discuss spoilers to really honor the episode and do it justice, so you can press that watch later button if you haven't seen it yet. Still here? Okay. It makes a lot of sense that the episode opens with a flashback of YELENA, and it really reminded me how this show treated Maya, aka Echo, in episode 3, where we saw her face reveal right at the end of episode 2, and then episode 3 opening with a bit of her past, so it kind of does the same thing. Now episode 5 of Hawkeye does that again, and it makes a lot of sense. Still, the scene caught me a bit off guard, because it opens with voiceovers including Natasha'S Voice, and it all harks back to the plot of Black Widow, where YELENA is now on a quest to free as much widows out of their hypnosis as she can, which is a great opener, awesome, but it gave me so much more than I was ready for, actually. The reason I love it so much that they're exploring this is that we really see the heroic side and good-natured side of YELENA, and that makes her character throughout the rest of the episode more layered, because throughout the rest of it, we explore more of her darker, apathetic side, where she's being on a quest to kill someone out of pure revenge and breaking into Kate's house. Now, that's not the most ideal hero to idolize, and within this story, there's no question, at least for now, that she is an antagonist, a baddie, but it could be that she ultimately teams up with Kate and Clint, of course. I do see that happening maybe, but I'm not sure. Goosebumps, by the way. Goosebumps all the way when YELENA just disappears for a second and immediately returns to a new decorated bathroom. The first thing that came to mind was, for me, it's actually astonishing that the blip or snap, whatever you want to call it, hasn't been used this way ever in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Not ever. Not in Infinity War, not in Endgame, not in Ant-Man and the Wasp, not in WandaVision, not in anything, The movie or show always tries to focus on the external world reacting to what happens, right? So we either see a drama around somebody disappearing or a drama around somebody reappearing and what that all means. For the first time, and in retrospect, I'm surprised it took this long, we see a snap and a blip happening from the perspective of the one undergoing the experience, and that is the strangest sensation ever. And I'm not gonna lie, I was genuinely disoriented and thought for a second that something else was happening we didn't see before, like Agatha coming into the room and casting a spell or something. I really don't know. That's not a... I totally wasn't used to this presentation of the blip, so it took me a few small seconds to realize what was going on. By the way, I'm not going to do a scene for scene breakdown or anything, but yes, that's why they cast Vera Farmiga. I always associate her with the role of Norman Bates' mother, which, by the way, I think Bates Motel is fantastic, so if you haven't seen that one, it is a watch. And so, yes, the thought crossed my mind, yes, that she is in all of this, that she might have a role in this conspiracy, but I totally wasn't there yet to make it a solid theory. We all felt some weird stuff around her, but I thought it might be a misdirect. So, I don't know. Yeah, also because she turns Jack in during this episode. At least it is implied that Eleanor made sure Jack was taken care of. Also seems to be a misdirect in hindsight. And I'm sure we're going to learn more about that next week. I believe that it's not all one big conspiracy, but that Jack and the Sloan Company have a slightly different interest than Kingpin, Eleanor, Maya, and the Tracksuit Mafia. And that Eleanor is just protecting her child here. And maybe she discovered Jack's plan was far more sinister than what Kingpin's plan would ever be. I'm sure we'll get answers, but I'm invested all the way. So, about what I was talking about earlier. Last week we saw a slow burn in episode 4, light on action, and this episode is also slow and light on action. Why that worked for this one and not the previous one for me, this one is actually really tense, and it builds and builds on intrigue. Who is that mysterious girl wandering in my house? You say what? She wants to kill my partner? Is Clint a totally different man than he appears to be? Have I been idolizing him too much to see the big picture clearly? I mean, Kate goes through a lot throughout the story. And then Clint has another can't be home for Christmas phone call with his wife, essentially telling her, I'm about to do something I'm not gonna be proud of, but I have to do it. And the episode keeps holding your attention with these hooks. And then the confrontation between Ronin and Maya, where we actually get the biggest plot twist of the show so far. No, not that Kingpin is involved. Everybody has been saying that, but actually it is about Kingpin, because Clint tells her, your boss wanted your father dead, and now Echo is really revealed to be a manipulated pawn, and just a pawn in all of this. A victim, if you will. And now I start to better understand why an Echo TV show might work. I say might, because I'd rather have them focus on different stuff, because we get her story right here in Hawkeye, so I don't know. I'm not that excited from the idea of having another separate show about her, but I digress. What I'm trying to say, even with so little action, but just character work after intrigue after reveal, I was so into the episode. A beautiful calm before the storm in terms of energy, but the tension built big time. And I really didn't feel that way about episode 4. It wasn't bad and had good character moments, but that episode was just chillin'. You know what I mean? Let's kick into lower gear and relieve some of the build-up, the tension. If you want to hear me explain that more in depth, you can see that video pop up in the right-hand corner. But here, it's picked up big time without needing to resort to action set pieces all the time. Oh yeah, and Kazi knows he's been lying to Maya, and I thought this scene between them was absolutely great. What is this? You don't trust me? Making up excuses that he didn't get the call, you know. It was some tense acting on display here. I loved this scene, and this is definitely something that is going to be paid off next week, I think. I'm really on board with Hawkeye now. Sure, 2 episodes out of the 5 episodes are amazing so far, I think. The other 3 are just okay. But let's hope I can say I loved half of the season of Hawkeye when we get to the finale next week. The tension built in this episode was great. Florence Pugh is a delight and a layered character here. We see both her heroic side and her darker, more sadistic side. Secrets are revealed. We see that Eleanor has a close relationship to Kingpin, which is all very interesting. Oh, and I did once again appreciate the score, as I caught 2 references to Alan Silvestri's Main on End theme from Endgame. Whenever the larger story about the events and Clint and Natasha'S role and all this was emphasized, I'm a sucker for musical continuity, and I'm constantly looking for that stuff, so that's why I'm bringing it up. I'm thinking about wrapping this up. Thank you so much for watching. I'm curious, what did you think of episode 5? Be sure to let me know in the comment section. Don't forget, if you enjoy the idea of discussing Disney Plus content with us, that red button looks familiar, right? And if you're interested in thoughts on previous episodes, it's all in the description, or you can browse the channel page. Did you like this video? Then be sure to consider giving that a click. Thanks. And for now, have a wonderful day, and see ya.